Amen. How are you doing today?
I'm great, brother.
Perfect. You know your
Amazing.
success when it comes to Snowfall, right? You took this role with a wig. People, it's so funny when people see you outside with the wig and everything. They're like, "Dang, I didn't know that was him." Do you get that sometimes?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty used to kind of being to going all in on a role,
Yeah.
and whenever I get feedback that I seem, contrast or contrary to the character, that always makes me feel good. It makes me feel like I'm doing my job. Yeah.
Nice. I love that. You have a background that a lot of people don't know. You're classically trained and you're very serious about your craft. Can you explain a little bit more about your classic training and why you take, I don't want to say you take these roles so serious, but how you really put yourself into them and make them something, because you really bring life to those words into the screen for us.
Yeah, I mean, it's really important to me to play a character with a lot of conviction and authenticity, especially when it's from our culture.
Yeah.
And to me, part of the circle of truth around my head of getting it right is to be trained. Training and your education helps to uh to create characters and memorable performances. So I went to Howard University. I came up in the neighborhood playhouse. I came up in HB Studios in New York. One of my first jobs coming up was at the Apollo Theater in New York City. And so I've been a theater junkie since I was a young boy, and I love the craft. Um, and it helps me with all, performances, portrayals, but it's also just a love of mine.
Yeah. It's interesting because when I speak with a lot of Black actors who come from the theater, there's a difference in how you all really take into, acting. There's this love for learning still, everyone is always learning and continuously learning. So how do you continuously learn so that you are your best self when the occasion arises?
I was always told that if you're not working, then you're learning. Then, the only excuse for not actively learning is that you're working.
Yeah.
And for anyone that's worked for any long, amount of time, you realize that there's so much that you learn on the job. It's true that there's nothing like on the job training, but there's also nothing like when you finish that period, that season of your career, or that, that job, that you then go and you work on the things, because as a person you've matured and you've grown as a person,
Yeah.
and you want to be able to take a lot of the lessons that you're getting from life and be able to apply them back into the work. So there's always room to grow, there's always room to explore, and there's always room to kind of, yeah, like I said, to explore the new possibilities that come about as life ever changes, and
Yeah.
our environments ever change, and what it means to be a man changes for men
Yeah.
throughout our lives. If it stayed the same, we'd be very stagnant.
Nice, very philosophical. I don't know if anyone ever tells you that. You got a very poetic way of saying things. And I know it's natural. You're not doing it for the camera, but you have a way of like really doing this delivery. When it comes to acting, has that always been a love for you since like even when you were a child, or did the love grow later on in life for you?
I've always loved acting. I've always loved, that's what I'm saying. I've always loved the craft of acting. And growing up in New York, I um I often would get in trouble. I was a bit precocious, perhaps. I was a bit um sometimes delinquent. Sometimes, I had issues in school. I had issues coming up. I had behavioral issues. I had issues with authority. And what I recognized, I couldn't recognize it then, but I did know that the arts were an escape, very similar to sports being an escape, or a discipline, or a way of finding accountability within oneself that wasn't put on you by someone else, some outside authority putting it on you, but finding the discipline in yourself to show up to rehearsal, to take the things that you say you want to do serious. And so to me, the arts are a very transformational component to to me, young people developing to who they are. And it really was that for me. I believe that, this craft acting has transformational power, that you can come in one way, or you can see the world a certain way, and then you can find new ways to express yourself, new ways to see the world, new ways to challenge some of those old beliefs that you may have. The arts are really good at that. So it helped me as a young man. And I realized very young that I loved to do it. And then it was about trying to figure out how I could turn that into a career.
Nice. So you would say the arts really saved your life and gave you a purpose, or at least steered you into your purpose?
Yeah, I feel like the arts, the art has always been a tool, a very familiar tool to help me evolve as a person.
Nice. When you think back to some of your earlier roles, theater, film, what do you always take back that, do you ever dissect and go, man, I could have done this better? Or do you always feel that once you engage, you are all like, do you ever like go back to your stuff, and go, man, I should have did this, or maybe I could have done that? Or do you always just feel like, man, you know what? I killed it. I did that. I gave it my all. I gave it that 100%, because I don't know how that is when it comes to actors. And I hear some don't even watch their films after. Some people have everyone has their own thing. So what's your thing?
What's my thing? I do look at my stuff. I haven't seen everything that I've ever done, but if if I have the opportunity to see something that I've done, I'll watch it. So I'm not superstitious in that way of not watching my work. I get it though. I get that there is something about doing something and that you were there present when you did it. And after that, it's really not yours anymore. There's a director, there's an editor, there's a there's a production and a business model that then has to come in and make this into entertainment and make this into something that you know that an audience can, and that may not be the intention that you originally put out. So I understand people that don't watch it, but for me, I like all of that. I like the art and then the business side. I like to see how things are stewed and filtered, and what did they do with that? Did they make what I did better? Did they punch it up? Did I think that, you know, one of the takes that I would have done, or I would have edited that different? Or, it's just so much psychology into how people see things and how people present it, that I like that part of it too. And as far as looking back at my work and judging, again, for you to be able to grow in life, if my work doesn't look different than the work that I did last year, this year, then something's wrong with me. That's to me. I feel like I should always be evolving and getting better, refining and tuning. And maybe there were certain things about a raw energy that I had when I was young that I may not possess the same now, or a more measured, a more wise, intelligent energy that I may have about my work that I didn't have, 15 years ago. So I think that's the matriculation. You want to see that, and I like that. Now, can I look at some of my stuff and go, woo, woo, brother, what was that? What were we doing back then? But then that reminds me of who I was and what I was doing and what that is and where that came from. And that's a signature to a part of my life. So I love it. Yeah.
Nice. I love that. You know, when you talked about, the rawness as a child, especially growing up where you grew up, are there things that you're able to tap into that you are able to bring into roles such as Jerome, or even when you're in Baywatch, you're fighting Dwayne the Rock Johnson, because those are two different roles. You know what I mean? You have one where it's like fighting and comedy, but then there's this other one where there's comedic parts, but then there's seriousness, there's love, there's family. So is there anything from your past childhood or just upbringing that you're able to tap into to bring those emotions, those tears, that thing where we're like, dang, he's taking me there with him?
Yeah, I feel like, um, yeah, I feel like I've always been blessed with heart, empathy, and I'm trying my best through my craft of being able to relate to an audience, relate to people that may not speak my language, may not have come up like me, but that we have that same language of empathy, of emotionality, of so many things that are common pains, common joys, and to really live that boldly or not, you know, and to have fun with it.
Yeah.
And that's what I try to bring to anything, that I'm going to bring a certain type of love for life, vitality, and in that, people that make strong choices, whether good or bad, that the character has conviction, believes in what it's doing for whatever means, um, you know, the ends justifying the means or whatnot. So that's what I love about playing different characters, is that you're able to step into a new perspective and be able to be a strong, multifaceted person,
Yeah.
that's nothing like the previous thing that you did, and coming to that with a clean slate. And of course, I'm borrowing things from my own life. I'm borrowing judgments. I'm borrowing so much, from just observing life and observing people. I love people. I love to people watch. I grew up, like I said, in Harlem, where I could sit on a stoop all day and just watch people,
Mhm.
from the way that they walk to the way that they spit on the curb to the way that they throw trash on the concrete, or the way that someone else may pick it up, you know, um, the way that someone's dragging a kid to school, the way that two people in love are holding each other's hands, like all of these micro moments that mean something to people,
Yeah.
and not knowing that they're being viewed, and for me to be able to almost be like a like a recorder,
Yeah.
to pick up these moments
Yeah.
and say, wow, I'm gonna be able to read. First of all, I felt something from these things, and can I translate this to an audience, these same type of feelings, be able to be a mirror of society back to society.
Nice. I love that. You said something interesting. Everyone always says, I want to get this role. I want to take the audience on a journey. But one thing you said that no one has said yet in an interview with me is that I also want to make sure if you don't speak my language, that it comes across. You get it. You can feel it with me, And I think that's so interesting that you said that because that's true. You have someone who might be a Spanish speaker, or maybe speak some form of an Asian language or European language outside of English, and they're watching you on TV. And with that, it's a very particular question to ask, but why how did you come about thinking that, like, if someone else who's watching me, because I've just never heard that. So I think it's really cool. It's made me think it's an interesting thing to say, to say, hey, I'm also making sure that if you don't speak my language, know my culture or know the culture of the show, that you will still be able to get my character, relate to my character, empathize with my character, or even hate the character, because maybe that's what your character is supposed to do.
Yeah, yeah. I think that, I mean, like I said, for me, it starts from what I would consider empathy. Um, that I'm looking for you can make whatever judgment about me, but I am trying to connect to the people in my world, whatever this production is. I'm trying to protect, and there's something that I want. There's something who I am. There's something that I stand for or that I don't stand for, and I need that communication to land on the people in that world. And a byproduct of that is that an audience watching it would be able to go, okay, I get that, I understand that. And to me, that is beyond just the verbal communication. Most of our communication isn't verbal. So if I'm if I really have a good spirit, when we say someone has a good spirit,
Mhm.
it's so less about what they've said. It's the interactions that they've had. It's what you've perceived about them when they thought no one was looking at them. It's all of these things, this energy, this just je ne sais quoi about the person or the event or the space. Because there's spaces that do that to you, right? There's a reason why there are certain places we consider tranquil, right? There's no words, they didn't have to have anything up there, right? It says like this place is tranquil. Like, nah, you get there and you like, yo, man, I feel real at home right here. This feels really relaxing. This
Yeah.
feels really inviting. So those qualities to me are the qualities that I like to fall in love with characters, with environments. Those are the things. And based on that feeling, based on how comfortable I am. So if you take a character that is a fish out of water to somewhere that is peaceful and tranquil and quiet, but this person is used to noise, then I want to be able to go into that space and find no peace.
Yeah.
And that means more than what I say.
Mhm.
That behavior, that feeling is something that perhaps someone else has felt when everyone else said that, oh, this is a place where you should be cool and relaxed and fine. And it's like, nah, I'm not letting down my guard just because y'all think this is, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and that's the stuff that makes to me fun characters and fun situations. So I'm always cognizant of how do I want to feel and how do I want to make other people feel. You know.
Nice. I love that. I remember hearing one time that they said, an actor or actress, I can't recall, but they said, even if the person's a villain, even if they're the worst person on this show or in the movie, you still have to find a way to empathize with that person to make it come to life. How do you empathize with characters or roles that might not necessarily be things that, you can even relate to, or that, you're just like, I'm not that guy. Like, no, I could never be like that. How do you get into that mode when you have to empathize? It's like when I'm doing this interview with you, it's like I think of headlines, empathy with, or love and craft. This is a fun, different type of interview, because I feel like it's a bit introspective of the human experience with Amin, and I think I just got my headline for it. But
But no, I feel like you know, and yeah, some of this is heady and some of this is kind of feely, but um, that's what I signed up for. This is the work that I signed up for. Um, I signed up to get into the minutia, into the grit, and to continue discovering things in there, to bring about new emotion, to bring about change, to bring about conflict, to
yeah,
bring about. I'm not running from the conflict. I'm running towards it.
yeah,
And the other times I'm hiding and shying away and putting up plenty of masks like we do in real life to cover shame, to cover guilt, to cover fear, to cover um, not thinking you're worthy for certain things.
hmm
These are the emotions that we commonly deal with in life, and we can't be as vulnerable and as expressive about it. A lot of times, the characters that we play are mirrors of us that can't explain or express those things either, but we know what's under there,
yeah.
right? So I, so yeah, the highest compliment that I can get is that someone feels my character. It's not so much of saying a line that I say, or that, or you're badass, or all of those things are byproducts of what I was presenting, who I was presenting, and what was behind the layers of that presentation. And
Mhm.
did you see how much of a mask maybe I had to put on and calibrate? For instance, masculinity, right, can be considered true masculinity, in my opinion, is not a mask at all, and is as as strong as it is vulnerable, right? But we know that masculinity, you can put it on as a shield, as a mask, as a weapon. It can be weaponized. And for any character, because I do play a lot of tough characters, for any of those characters, if you look behind that first veneer, there are things that are layered in of who this person really is to me.
Yeah.
But maybe the environment I'm in, if I'm in a shark environment, shark eat shark,
Yeah.
you know? If you put me in a different environment, you put me on the moon and you say there's no gravity, and you say, then imagine that same person being
Yeah.
put in that situation. That would breed a lot of comedy, right? It would breed a different type of vulnerability.
Yeah.
So I'm always looking for those contrasts, and that's the fun part of building character. That's the fun part of playing these, and for well-written roles, when we get stuff that's layered and well written, that's the fun. That's the journey.
Nice. Yeah, I have just two more questions before we end. Now let's talk about from the business side. You said it was a way to find how to take your craft and also, make it a career, make it a business. How have you been able to create a successful career, especially in a competitive industry, especially with, a man of your stature, look? And when I say that, is because, you can get sometimes so pigeonholed in Hollywood, you do a certain role or certain type. So how have you been able to navigate, well, start it and then navigate it where you're not just one tone?
I really believe that you need to you have to have goals. Your goals don't necessarily need to make sense to anybody. Um, but if you have, I have goals. Like I got a board right here, right next to me, a vision board right here next to me of a whole bunch of things that I want to do and some of the things that I'm doing. And those things don't have to necessarily make sense. If you want to be an amazing bowler and also a power lifter, I don't think bowling and powerlifting necessarily go together. And I don't know if you're going to find the right mentor that's going to, you know, make you a powerlifting bowler. But having the vision and the goals and incremental steps that you can attain and to be able to check off will somehow bring the resources to you that make both of those things a reality.
Mhm.
I can't say the time that that's going to take, but some people, they manifest that very, very fast. And perhaps the longevity is more of a challenge. For some people, that is a journey that they'll be going on for a very, very long time. So I'm more of the latter, where the journey that I've gone on is very long time. And so I've never really worried about being pigeonholed, because to be pigeonholed, it had to be a finite amount of time.
Yeah.
I'm gonna evolve, and so the things that I played when I was in my early 20s, just because I've matured, I'm 40 now. Like, I'm gonna play things different. I see things differently.
Yeah.
And I show up different, you know. Am I physical? Yeah, I was physical then, but it's different. It's just a different physicality. So to think of things so finite and so caged as typecast and things, to me, is to think in a very small window.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can be typecast for 5 years, but even the people that typecast you for 5 years, in 10 years, they're going to be like, well, you're not what you were then.
Yeah.
We might have typed, but have you done the work? Have you done all the work that you need to do to become something else?
Yeah.
You know, have you, if I'm playing tough leading men now, and my physicality is that I lead with, you know, a masculine, muscular vibrato, is that the man that I'm going to be in 25 years? More than likely not. So for me, the roles that I'm playing now, I thought about probably 20 years ago, 15 easily. And the roles that I want to play when I'm 65, I'm thinking about now. So for me, by the time I get there, it's kind of like, man, I've been thinking about this. So what's the next? I'm on to the next thing, you know? Still try to live in the moment, but that's just how it is when you have goals, and, you know, so it kind of gets you out of other people's worrying about how other people see you. Cause that's what typecasting and pigeonholing is how someone else's parameters for you. But if you have these sort of lofty goals for yourself,
Yeah.
a lot of times you can use how people see you in the moment to your advantage. So
Nice.
for me, it's like, yeah, bring, you know, if we think like something like a portrayal of Jerome Saint or Unc is pigeonholing me, then bring me as much as that opportunity as you possibly can. I'll take it all,
Nice.
because either way, 5 years from now, I'm gonna be doing something different. So whether you know what I mean? And yeah, that's just how it is. It's beautiful to be um it's an opportunity to be typecast. You just got to see it that way. You
Nice.
just got to know that someone has thought about you enough with the limited information that they have,
Yeah.
that they think this is where we can put you on the shelf.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of other things that goes untitled that never makes a shelf.
Yeah.
But we think you brother, you are toothpaste. You are toothpaste, and we gonna put you in the toothpaste aisle on the toothpaste shelf, and that's what we think you are. But more than likely, when you look at the brand of toothpaste, more than likely they make other stuff.
Yeah.
But you first had to find a place to put it. So
Yeah.
that's the very sharp frequency that someone thinks of you enough to go, we saw you do something and we think you can do that again.
Yeah.
We think you're nothing but that. That's fine. That's awesome. You know,
Yeah.
let them grow up. They'll grow with you. They'll grow. They'll see something different. And then, you know, so I think it's an opportunity. I just want to be able to put that out there for any, you know, mature or emergent artists, to not run away from the types.
Yeah.
Use the type and then break it, and people will follow you to the next place where you break it. And then once you break it and become something else, they'll swear to God that you that next thing too. That's just how it is. That's just human nature. That's just human nature. We want to be sure that what we have is something tangible. So
Yeah.
we want to be able to put it on a shelf and know that whenever we come back to it, it's there.
Yeah.
Because a thing is a thing because we said it's a thing. And that's the beauty of our craft, is that our craft is saying that I am not that thing from the very beginning. I am an actor. So even the thing you stereotype me as, I must not be it because he was acting in the first place.
You know what?
But nah, dog, you unk though. But nah, dog, you unk.
You took me back to psychology in college where we talked about inanimate objects and, you know, how can you say a
Exactly.
fire is a fire without describing it the way we've been taught? And you can't even use your experience. I was like, I'm not about to do John Locke's innate objects and talk about why this chair is a chair. We're not going there. You know what? I'm going to get out of this class ASAP.
Exactly.
Nice.
Exactly.
Last question, and I'll let you go. This has been amazing. Thank you. How have you, since it's a business and you're very particular on your brand, what you do, what you're trying to portray, what you're trying to do, have there been any moments where you turned down certain roles or roles that you took on where maybe the writing or the directing wasn't purposeful enough for you to say, I have to tell them that they need to go another route with this? Like, kind of like steer. I'm not saying you coming on set saying, hey, he ain't gonna do this, but maybe you're like, this doesn't really make sense for this character to do that. So have you ever had to like turn down roles because you didn't like where they were going with them, and or have you, made some suggestions that they listened to?
Yeah, I've had all of those situations. I've done so many projects, and you know, everyone has a different trajectory, right? So there's some people that come out of school, or some people don't go to school, right? Um, and you just end up on a set with a lot of people from a lot of different backgrounds and various different educations and skill sets, and I just feel like it's up to the artist to find out what's important to them.
Yeah.
What's important to you as a storyteller. For me, there are certain roles, I won't go into naming what those things are because they change. I've become a husband and a father in the last 4 years. It's changed my perspective on certain work that I had done before that I might not do today.
Yeah.
There's stuff that I might do today that I definitely wouldn't have done then. You know, your sensibility changes, and that's sort of the beautiful thing. I mentioned it earlier. I really want to do some animation and some child, programming, children's programming. I
Yeah.
really want to do that. Why? Well, I got 2 young kids. I would love for them to see some of that rather than me, shooting dudes in the heads with 45s, right? Um, some of my early work might have been really, really sexual and sensual.
Yeah.
Ain't going, so it changes with who you are, it changes. But hopefully you have the same integrity to the work and to the character and to the story. And if I can't bring that type of integrity, the integrity that I have today, walking around today, if I can't bring that to a character, to a project, if I can't lift it, if I don't feel like I'm the person to lift that story, that I can be transparent and bring all of my energy, my force to it, then it ain't the right one for me.
Yeah.
Doesn't really matter the money, doesn't really matter now the money makes it easier. The money make you think about it a little bit more. But just speaking for myself is not the end all be all, because there's all these other things that you need checked to really be fulfilled. You feel me? So that's kind of how I see it. So in there, yeah, I'm going to make a lot of suggestions. I'm going to be very intentional about what I want to do. That don't mean that I might do some shit that you might be like, why that nigga do that? Yeah. That nigga did that because he believe in that. That's something that connect to me that may not connect to you.
Yeah.
You may go, oh, well, a person of your stature or that did this seems like you wouldn't. Yeah, but seems like you don't know what really means something to me. So some material can come and affect me that doesn't affect the broad Hollywood. And I might go, this means something to me. I got to do it.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, everyone could be clamoring to do something and to work with certain people. And I might go, yeah, but that might not be the right fit for me. To know yourself, to give yourself room to grow, to give yourself room to make mistakes, and to be able to give yourself an out, that sometimes it's okay to go, I'm not really prepared for a certain opportunity right now. I'd rather do something else that is a little bit closer to my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Nice. Well, thank you. That's amazing. I promise you, he's like, you might be a pastor in one of your next one of your next
man.
You about to be a pastor.
I just love what I do. And at the end of the day, all this advice is for me. This is me going through this world and doing what I love to do. and being proud of myself. Um, didn't have someone to walk me through this. Had to figure a lot of this stuff out for myself,
Yeah.
and to have and to be proud of yourself, and to not to go to bed thinking that you've compromised yourself, to know that you made decisions based on who you are, where you are, and that you can look yourself in the face in the mirror, and look other people in the mirror and say, this is who I am, and I know why I make my decisions. And that's a that's something that I wish for all my art my fellow artists to be able to do. I say that.
Nice. Well, this has been perfect. I'm gonna stop the recording right now.